Hi, welcome to Dibs on Blue. My name is Stephanie, and this is my sign name. Today I want to show how to play this game, Letter Jam. Thank you to Czech Games Edition for sponsoring this video. You can play with 2 to 6 players, and the playtime is around 30 to 60 minutes. The goal of the game is that all players work together, providing word clues to help players guess their own personal words. At the end of the game, you want the most players able to successfully guess their word. To set up and start the game, put down the number tokens and the wild card in the center of the table. All players need a pencil, which the game already has included. Everyone needs a guessing sheet as well, which should be folded in half to prevent other players from peeking at the paper. Also put down the setup card in the center of the table that corresponds to the number of players. Place the appropriate amount of red and green tokens on the spaces of the card seen here. Shuffle the letter cards and deal an equal amount face down to each player. But do you see this in the corner of the card? That means in this 4-player game, there are 2 non-players. They're just dummy players, not actual players. You should always use the 6 stands provided in the game, no matter the number of players. So in this example, one of the dummy players gets 7 cards, and the other dummy player gets 8. As you can see here on the table. Under each of those card stacks, you place 1 of the green tokens. I'll explain why a little later. Each player needs to guess a secret word, so let's take a look at how those words are created. Well, you could use an app for the game, or the players can come up with the words by deciding how long the word should be. Should they stick to short words, go for long words, exactly how many letters, etc. Maybe players decide to go for 4-letter words. So for that example, I look at my letter cards dealt to me and create any 4-letter word I choose. Let's say I go with bowl. I shuffle the 4 letters, B-O-W-L, and pass them to the player on my right. I get 4 letter cards from the player to my left. I won't look at those cards because that's my secret word. The cards the players have left that weren't used to create a secret word are discarded in a stack face down to the center of the table. Now players take their 4 cards, lay them out like this, and place the first card in the stand in front of them. I've already done that for the others here. Players can see my card, but I can't, and I can see everyone else's cards. At the same time, everyone looks at the letters they can see. When you look at the letters, you try to think of a word they can spell, perhaps using as many letters as possible. Players can use 1 letter as many times as they want. And as a player, you should always see at least 5 letters. You can use the wild card to represent any 1 letter, not many different letters for 1 word. Then, players discuss their word. How many letters are in the word? Are players' letters used? Is the wild card used? Are the dummy player letters used? Only basic information like that. Players should never say the actual letters themselves, so you have to be careful. The rulebook outlines specific legal and illegal clues. For example, a player might be like, well, I can create a word with 4 letters that uses 3 player letters and the wild card. Maybe they're thinking of the word boar with the wild card representing B. Another player might say, well, I can create a 3-letter word that uses 3 player letters and that's it. Maybe they're thinking raw and so on. Then the players decide who to go with. Who should be the ultimate clue giver, helping us the most? Maybe players decide to go with the 3-letter word that uses only 3 player letters because they don't want that wild card throwing everyone off. Maybe that would be too confusing. So that player becomes the clue giver. The first time a player is the clue giver, they take 1 red token from the setup card. Then the clue giver provides their clue by using the numbered tokens. The number 1 token is placed in front of the R, number 2 in front of the A, and number 3 in front of the W. Since I'm this player and don't know my letter, I have no idea what the number 2 token represents. If the wild card is used to create the word, the clue giver doesn't say the letter, but instead places a number token near it, just like the other letters. If a player has a number token in front of their letter, they can try to figure out their letter by using their guessing sheet. But be mindful, other players shouldn't be able to see your paper. So you write each letter you know. Right now, I know number 1 is R and number 3 is W. I don't know number 2. So R, don't know, and a W. So I can write R ? W. If the wild card was used, you can just write a star to represent that letter, as shown here. Now players try to guess their letters. I think my letter could be an O as in row, or an A as in raw, but I'm just not confident, so I'm gonna wait. Maybe the next round will help me more. So I'll just keep my cards the way they are. But let's say I am confident. I replace my card with the next card in my row without looking at the cards. You should never look at any of your cards. But make sure you're pretty confident if you move on because you can't go back. If a dummy player letter is used, discard it and replace it with the next one on the stack. It's the same letter. When all players are finished, they start a new round looking at all of the cards, trying to think of a word clue. Again, you should see 5 letters regardless of the player count. Now maybe there are some new letters to work with. If during a 4, 5, or 6 player game, a player becomes the clue giver, but already has a red token, that player takes a green token. If the green tokens run out, you can figure out who hasn't given a clue yet. That player becomes the clue giver, taking the last red token on the setup card, freeing up the green token in the middle. In a 3-player game, clue givers take a red token for the first 2 clues they give. In a 2-player game, clue givers take a red token for the first 3 clues they give. You want all players to give at least 1 clue, because when the red tokens are gone, the green token in the middle becomes available. Meaning, players get another round to help them guess their letters. If a dummy player's letters should ever run out, the green token under the cards gets moved to the setup card. Now players have another round to help them. So the game goes on, writing guesses and replacing cards when you think you know the letter. And maybe I get to the point where I think I figured out all of my letters. In this case, I pick a card from the top of the discarded stack of cards in the middle. Again, I don't look at the card. Players can use that letter to create a word clue, and I, again, try to figure out what the letter is, like always. But if I do figure out the letter, the card is placed face up in the center of the table. Now players can use that letter as well to create word clues, like a bonus letter. If I don't figure out the letter, it isn't placed face up in the center. Instead, I just discard it and pick a new card from the top of the discarded stack. If players use the bonus letter to create a word clue, it's discarded. The game is over when all of the tokens run out, or players decide they're all done. Maybe everyone is pretty confident they all know their letters. Then, players look at their guessing sheet and try to order their face-down cards the right way to spell a word. Using the letters, I think I figured out how do I rearrange these cards to spell something. If a player is just way too confused and has no idea what their word could possibly be, they have the option to use any bonus letters or the wild card to help spell a word. For example, if a player is pretty confident they have the letters G, S, and N, but they're just not sure what that last letter could be, they can replace that card with a bonus letter. Maybe the letter is I. It's placed on top of the card to represent the letter I, regardless of what the letter card underneath shows. Now they can try to rearrange their cards to spell sign or sing. It doesn't matter as long as it's a real word. Players can also use bonus letters or the wild card to lengthen their word. You can earn points at the end of the game for that, which you'll see in a little bit. Now, players flip over their cards one at a time, hoping that they've managed to spell something legit. Let's say at the start of the game, I created a 4-letter word, spin, for the player to my right. And at the end of the game, that player flips over their cards, and they've spelled pins. It doesn't matter. That player still managed to spell a real word and cause it a win. You can add up scores, but honestly, that's up to you. The goal is really just to have fun. Point totals are on the back of the setup card to see where you fall. If your word ends up not being a real word, you get 1 point for each letter you guessed correctly. If the word is a real word, you multiply the length of the word by 3. So for example, if the word is 4 letters long, you would get 12 points. You get 1 more point for lengthening your word by using bonus letters or the wild card. And you also earned 1 point for each green token left on the setup card. Well, that's it for explaining Letter Jam. Thanks again to Czech Games Edition for sponsoring this video. If you enjoyed watching, please subscribe, like, and share the link. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Dibs On Blue Games. The Facebook page has a note listing friendly local game stores. Those are game stores who support this channel. So go check it out. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below and I'll respond. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.